I busted my first bad mother on a Muni train. She was trying to gather the slippery strands of her little daughter's hair into a ponytail, and when the driver took a turn too sharply, she lost hold of it. She yanked the girl's hair hard and hissed, "Stand still!" Indignantly, I said in a voice loud enough for everyone on the train to hear, "Lady, we're all watching you." We are always watching the bad mother police force in a perpetual state of alert level orange. When I polled a very scientific sampling of all my good friends, they had no trouble defining what it meant to be a good father. A good father shows up in the delivery room, at dinner time, to school recitals, only if he doesn't have work. My polling sample, however, had a very difficult time defining what it meant to be a good mother without resorting to all kinds of hyperbole. So here's an example of what someone said. She remembers to serve fruit at breakfast, is always cheerful and never yells, manages not to project her own neuroses and inadequacies onto her children, is an active and beloved community volunteer. She remembers to make play dates, her children's clothing fits, and she does art projects with them and enjoys all their games. And she's never too tired for sex. So being a good father is a reasonable, attainable goal. Being a good mother is impossible. The good mother does not exist. She has never existed. But still, this creature of fantasy is who we measure ourselves against, right? And our failure to live up to her makes us feel like bad mothers. I have been pondering the reasons for this maternal anxiety ever since I first found myself suffering from it. My briefcase traded in for a diaper bag, my focus narrowed to my baby and myself, my ambitions curdling into something that I thought was anger, but I now realize was closer to despair. When I was pregnant with my second kid, I packed up my desk, tossed my framed diplomas into the attic, and became a stay-at-home mom. And it was everything I thought it would be. It was Mommy and Me and Gymboree and story time at the library. And then the next day, it was Mommy and Me and Gymboree and story time at the library. And the next day, and the next day. And within a week, I had gone completely insane. And now, I know that there are some mothers who have, without regret, channeled all of their ambition and energy into making homemade Play-Doh. But most of the women I know feel an underlying and corrosive sense of disappointment and anxiety. They are, on some level, unfulfilled. And they spend a lot of time trying to avoid wondering whether the sacrifice was worth it. So how do we find consolation in the face of all this failure and guilt? One way is to judge ourselves for a little while, not against the impossible standard of the good mother, but against the heinous bad mother. We may be discontented and irritable. We may snap after the 67th knock-knock joke. Our kids may watch 3 hours of TV a day. We may have just celebrated the 2nd anniversary of the last time we had sex with our husbands. But at least we're not Andrea Yates or Britney Spears. Hell, we're not even Ayelet Waldman. That is, you're not. So is there really no other way to be a mother in contemporary American society than to be locked into a cultural zero-sum game of I'm okay, you suck? I mean, we possess, after all, a perfectly adequate model, the good father. Now, I am not calling for a national lowering of maternal standards to the rather minimal level considered acceptable for fathers. In fact, if more were expected of fathers, mothers might not end up shouldering such an undue burden of perfection. But it is hard enough to minister to the needs of children without trying to live up to an impossible standard at the same time. It's hard enough to achieve a decent balance between work and home without feeling like our mistakes are causing our children permanent damage. It's hard enough to braid a kid's hair on a moving train without worrying about an audience of censorious commuters. So, can't we just try to give ourselves a break